Today's video is called Solving a Linear Equation, and we have 3 exercises for you. And this should be somewhat familiar from you because you've done this before. But let's just jump right in. And really, I've said before, what math is all about is solving equations for the most part. And so we want to take some time and just solve this one for x. So let me get my pen back on here. And I'm going to rewrite the equation right here, and so I can start solving it in this space down here. And basically, to get x by itself, that is what we're after here. And I'm going to make a little list over here, and this list is really important to follow. I know some people, it's very easy for them to see the steps that you have to do to solve an equation, and some people just need a little list. So I'm going to put this list over here, and you put this down on your note packet, and it'll really help over the next few sections on solving these different linear equations here. So the first thing is distribute, and we've done distribution before, so we may have some where we have to distribute, but if you don't have to distribute, then you skip that step and you go to the next step, and I'm going to put combine like terms. Alright, and combining like terms we've again done before, so that shouldn't be any too big of a deal for you. And number 3 is get all of your x's to the same side. Alright, and this, I'm trying to write and talk at the same time. Let me just write this. Get all of your x's to the same side. Okay, and then number 4 is do the algebra. Alright, and I really, like a few years ago, I started using this list with people, and I think it maybe helped people kind of say, well, I don't know what to do first, I don't know what to do second. So let's just keep that list over there, and let's try to solve this equation. Now, first thing I have here is distribute, and really, if you're going to distribute, you're going to have parentheses on the, or in the equation somewhere, and we don't have any, so we can skip number 1 there. And the second thing is combine like terms. Now this is where some people mess this up and they say, oh wait, I can put the 2x and the 4x together, but remember there are 2 sides to this equation. I'm going to put my red line, and I'm going to put right down through the equal sign there and make my 2 sides. And the one place that a lot of people they combine things they shouldn't, because they try to combine like terms that are on opposite sides of the equation, and you can't do that. So really, right now we can't combine like terms. Alright, so I'm going to check that one off over here. And number 3, get all of your x's to the same side. Now I say x's, but in different equations it could be t's, it could be z's, it could be s's, whatever the variable is. So that's the first step I'm going to do here, is I'm going to get all my x's to the same side. And usually what I do, guys, is I try to take the smaller number with the variable and move it to the other side. Alright? Now, be careful. Lots of people, they look at this and they say, oh wait, I got to add 2x to both sides because of this minus. But you always look in front of the number to see what operation is there, and if there's nothing there, that's a plus 2x right now. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to take away 2x, and just like we've done many times before, whatever you do to one side you have to do to the other. That's part of moving things algebraically. Alright, and so 2x minus 2x, well, those are going to go away, and I'm going to bring down this negative 3 here. Again, make sure you bring down this negative symbol with the 3, and 4x minus 2x is simply 2x. Alright, and then now I've done this stuff, I've got all my x's to one side. Well, now I need to do the algebra, meaning, and I can even put this down here, solve for x, okay, or solve for the variable. So now I say to myself, well, this is 2 times x, I want to do the opposite, and I want to divide by x. Or divide by 2, sorry, divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 gives me a 1, so I get 1x over here. And negative 3 over 2 is simply negative 3 over 2. And that's it. I'm all done. Alright. Now the way I make sure that I've done this correctly is I do what we did in the previous video, and I take the negative 3 over 2 and I plug it in for the original equation, or into the original equation. So I'm going to take the original equation. This is how I check myself and I make sure I did a good job here. I did all my math right. Alright, and I plug in negative 3 over 2 every place I see, and x. So this is just like we did the previous day, and then I just do the math on this side of the equation. So when I multiply fractions, of course those are going to cancel, so I get negative 3 minus 3, and then, oops, I didn't put the x in there, or I didn't take the x out of there. I got to take that away here. Let me erase that one, and I'm supposed to put in a 2 right there, or a negative 3 over 2. Yeah, it should be 2. Okay, so again I'm going to multiply these two. That's 4 over 1, and these are going to cancel. You can give me a 2 right there. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And if I finish the math over here, I get negative 6 equals negative 6, and yes, that checks. Alright, so I did my math correct. Okay, so if you follow this list right here, it's a pretty easy list. Okay, it really kind of spells out what I should do first and what I should do second. So keep that in mind now that you have that list. Keep that right in front of you while we do the others here. So here's number 2, and I want to do the same thing. I want to solve for x, so I'm going to draw it. I'm going to change my blue to a little more blue. There we go. I'm going to draw it right down here first, and I want to solve for x. And if you have that list that we had over there before, the first thing it said is to do distribution. Well, we don't have any distribution. We don't have any parentheses up there. So then we go to number 2 on the list, and it said to combine like terms. Well, over on the left side of the equation, alright, again I'll put my t in here, as sometimes I call it. Over on the left side of the equation, I don't have any like terms to put together. I only have a term with an x and a term without an x, so that's done. And over on the right side, I don't have any terms to put together either. So I've done step number 2. I've combined like terms. And number 3 is just get all the x's to the same side. Well, I only have x's on one side, so I've actually, steps 1, 2, and 3 are already done. So now I just have to solve for x. Alright, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of this negative 21 first. Alright, and I'm going to add 21 to both sides. And one thing I didn't mention in the previous example, guys, make sure you put these symbols in. Alright, this really is like a separator. It's like we're back in elementary school and we're adding two numbers together, and you always put this symbol below the addition and when you're going to have an answer below it. It really does make it much neater. Alright, so 15 plus 21 is 36, and over here negative 21 and plus 21 is going to cancel out to 0. So I'm just simply going to be left with 3/5 x equals 36. Alright, and now in order to solve for x, I'm going to have to divide. These two are being multiplied. This 3/5 x and x are being multiplied. So I want to do the opposite, and I want to divide, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Now, since I'm dividing by a fraction, I'm going to go over here on the side. I'm going to do this division. 36 over 1 divided by 3 over 5, and this goes back to 5th or 6th grade math. When we divided by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. Alright, so I'm going to turn that over, and that's actually a good thing because this is going to cancel. This 3 is going to cancel, and this 36 is going to cancel with the 3, and that makes it really nice. 12 times 5 is 60 over 1, which is just equal to 60. Alright, so over here on this side, on the right side, I get 60. And what's going to happen over on this left side? Well, 3/5 divided by 3/5 just cancels to 1, so I get an x. So there's my answer. Alright, and if I do a quick check over here, and I take the original problem, or the original equation, and I plug in a 60 where I had the x. Alright, I just plugged in a 60. Now I have to do the math on this side, and I'm going to turn that 60 into a fraction, so that will cancel. Alright, and 3 times 12 is 36. And I'll bring everything else down, and 36 minus 21 is 15. Why didn't that work out? Oh, because I have a 15, not a 5 over there. Whew, that's good. Got a little scared there for a minute. Alright, so that should have been a 15 to begin with. Okay, so the process is the same. You know, it's just a matter of practice. You do it over and over, just like anything else. The more practice you do, then the easier it's going to become. Alright? Now, if you notice in your packet, you actually have 2 exercises. Exercise number 2. Alright, so that's okay. This is the second number 2. No big deal. Alright, you can still see the equation that we want to solve. And I'm going to write it again right here so I can manipulate it and such down below. Plus x plus 13. Okay? And some people may look at this and they go, oh my gosh, I got fractions in here. I can't do it. I don't like fractions. But again, let's go down the list. Number 1 is distribution. Well, there's no parentheses, so no distribution. Number 2 is combine like terms. Alright, well, let's look at just this side of the equation. And it looks like I have like terms here and here. Okay, and again, notice I circled the plus sign because I'm going to say to myself 1/5 x plus 1x. Well, that is 1 and 1/5 x. And then this 13 is going to come down for the ride. Okay? And I'm going to take this side of the equation, do the same thing. Well, again, 1/5 x can be combined with plus 1x, and that gives me 1/5 x plus 13. And wow, this became, whoops, 1 and 1/5, sorry, 1 and 1/5 x plus 13. So this became really the same equation. Alright, well, let's keep going. We combine like terms, and now we need to get our x's all to one side. So really, those are the same x's, so I'm just going to subtract 1 and 1/5 x from both sides of the equation. Well, this side cancels to 0, so I get 13. This side cancels to 0, so I get 13, and well, that's odd. I get rid of the x's. Alright, and that happens sometimes in equation. And if that happens, I'm going to write this down, and I want you to write this down as well. If the x's, and I'm going to say x's, it could be any variable, cancel out, alright, like they did here, okay, if this, what you're left over with, is true, okay, I'm just going to put if true, then that means anything you plug in for x will work. Anything you plug in for x. Any x. Alright, actually I could write it like that. Any x. Ooh, too many. Any number will work for x. Okay, that means you have an infinite number of solutions. Any number in the world you plug in for x into this equation, it will be a solution. Alright, if it's false, alright, say we got, instead of 13 equals 13, say it said 13 equals 12, which definitely is false, then no numbers will work for x. That means there is no solution to this equation. I think the next example might be an example like that, but we'll see. Alright, so this is something that comes up not very often, but it does, so you need to be aware of it. Okay, so if the x's cancel out, if you get a true statement here, the number equals the same number, then anything you plug in for x will work. And if we get something that is false, you know, 5 equals 10, then no numbers will work for x. You have no solution. I'm going to put that right down there too. That means no solution. Okay? So you may run into some that occur like that from time to time. So those are the 3 examples that I have for you today. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully those will go okay for you. The assignment we have tomorrow will be just solving some equations for x. And if you follow the list, like I said, we had before, that list right there, it really does make it a little easier. I don't know what I'm doing over here. I'm trying to get to the right layer. There we go. It really does make it a little easier to follow. What do I do first? What do I do second? So really have that list right next to you when you try to solve equations. Okay, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.